Shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all praise, honor, and glory to the Most High, Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushai, Ba'ashem Rakakwadash. And I want to say Shalom to Akmenakwat out there, pursuing this truth diligently. Coming at you once again with another lesson. Got it all set up now. I had to like restart a couple times. So I got it all the things that needed to be set up, got set up. So this one doesn't have a title yet. As you can see, it just says title. But it was inspired by a Reddit post, all right, that really inspired a ChatGPT question that revealed a lot of information. Okay, so we're going to just go through it through the spirit and power of Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai to the best of our ability and, analyze it, look at it, talk about it, grab some scriptures, of course, and Lord willing, the flock will be edified. So right over here, I think this is the right page. No, it decided to bounce me out again. 1 minute, let me pause. Alright, let's lock you. We got it. Here we are. So this was the post. Alright, it says Portland, Oregon, ICE agents rip clothes off of a woman and drag her across concrete, fully exposed to the crowd. And it looked to be, I couldn't necessarily tell what the woman was, if she was white or Hispanic. I couldn't really tell, so-called. But I'll go ahead and play it. It's all edited and blurred out, but I'll go ahead and play it. But it was really, inspired by some of the things that were said here. And I wanted to ask ChatGPT about it, so I did, and we'll go into that, Lord willing. So let me full screen this for you. You can go ahead and see the video here. And you hear the people like, it's through something. You should not do it. And that's how these people say. It's the most unserious generation, and that's why, ultimately, really, it's not only it's the spirit of complacence that I mentioned before that Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai has put on people. They're not going to ever really be able to do a full uprising. It's also, and that it's rooted in different things, but it goes back to the spirit of complacence, all right, that's been placed upon people by the Lord, because His prophecy's got to go out. Things have to go the way He wants, all right. He's the director, not you, and and that's something I pondered for a while. Why is it that people aren't really doing anything about it? And you're going up, you're unserious, man. You're in little costumes and stuff like that, which of course you're not doing it. It is against their idea that it's violent protests, because a lot of the time they aren't. It's just they go there and make a meme of the situation by dressing up as frogs and other animals and different types of wacky costumes. But the problem is that that's not really what's going to solve anything at the end of the day, right? But no matter what you did, even if you reacted with extreme violence, it's not going to solve anything, because Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai is the one that makes the moves. All right, He's the ultimate chess player. He's the one that decides when things happen, when they happen, why they happen, right? So even if you went out there, with an opposed militia with guns and whatnot, you'd really get nowhere, right? If the Lord didn't want you to get anywhere. But these people, it's really just a I did my part, right? It's like the I'm doing my part. Wasn't that from Starship Troopers? Yeah, right here. This is what you guys feel like right? This is what you guys feel like. You go out there and you say, no justice, no peace, no justice, no peace, right? And or you go out there, down to the fascist pigs, down to the fascist pigs, no war, no KKK, no fascist USA. You go out there and you yell that, all right? And of course, no war, no KKK, no fascist USA is a saying that was brought up by a band called MDC, or Millions of Dead Children, or Millions of Dead Cops. All right, they use those two terms interjectively, and you know, now people, no war, no KKK, no fascist USA. All right, cool. Well, what you do isn't really helping resist fascism. Okay, it's kind of just being complacent with it. Okay, and which is fine. All right, you're not supposed to. You know, we don't incite violence or encourage, you know, like, you know, attacks. That's not something you're supposed to do. All right. Vengeance is the Lord. Vengeance is the Lord's. All right. Vengeance is mine. I will repay, saith the Lord. All right. And we follow Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shai. So we'd never encourage anybody to do that. But that's the type of situation where going around and standing isn't going to do anything. Okay. It isn't going to do anything. Sure, if you went out there and raised hell with violence, it might, you know, there might be more of a reaction, all right, or there might be more action, but you're also going to get a heavier reaction. You're not supposed to do it because Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shai said not to, but you people are in the world, you don't care about Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shai. But standing around is most certainly not going to do anything, okay? And I'm just bringing that to attention because I think it's hilarious that, like, they go out there, you guys are pigs, and they wear signs, all right, and like rainbow flags and like some, you know, other shit, and they think that like they're helping. I'm helping, right? And it reminds me of this.
I'm doing my part.
I'm doing my part.
I'm doing my part.
I'm doing my part too.
All right?
They're doing their part. Are you? Join the mobile infantry and say.
That's what it reminds me. I'm doing my part, you know. And the woman became kind of meme.
For the future.
I'm doing my part.
It kind of became a meme, you know, for women that don't really, you know, end up doing much. Like, I'm doing my part. Yeah, you know, it's, you know, I'm doing my part. You know, I'm doing my part. I'm out here. You're not doing anything. You're not doing anything, man. It's hilarious, though. It's hilarious. You're just standing around, you know, in a Dalmatian costume. So, just yelling. You know, you're letting them know they're opposed. Don't know. Right? Letting somebody know that you're opposed against them isn't going to do anything. So, a lot of people talking about fascism and stuff. So I really, and you know, we are really headed towards a fascist, all right, totalitarian government. And you hear the Democrats say, we're in a fascist state. We're not really in a fascist state. I mean, you could say, some would say that we are. But really, it's, you know, the roots are there, all right, but ultimately the forest is not overgrown yet. You can't claim something is something when there's a few, you know, vines of it, all right? You have to wait until it's taken over, which is, you know, not, you don't want it to get to that part, all right? But that's when you can consider it a fascist, when it's gone too far. They're trying to stop it from getting that far. It hasn't become a fascist state yet. It's showing signs of fascism, but it has not become a fascist state. Right. Really, it's a fascist, fascio, oligarchical, capitalistic. What's the other word? Capitalistic. It's a fasci oligarchical capitalistic government. All right, if you really want to get, it's kind of a blend. It's not really a true democracy. All right, it's not really a true capitalism. It's not really full fascism. I mean, if you had to choose one which most fits is oligarchy. All right, it's just ran by oligarchs. That's what it really is. You know, money. Okay, it's about money. All right, them getting all the wealth and nobody else having any. That's really what it's about at the end of the day, and you know, and upholding their wickedness. Okay. So it says, who feels what's happening is good for America? Anyone want to chime in who thinks this is good? And I liked it because, you know, there's people out there, this was good for America. This is not, most certainly not good. All right, if I was in a position of trying to make America great again, you guys have fucked it up. Okay? If I was going to make America great again, this is most certainly not how I would have done it. Okay, you've pissed everybody off. You've got everybody upset. All right, and you got. I mean, but on the pro, all right, Donald Trump's got all the dumbest of the dumb. All right, that are on his side. You can tell them anything, and they'll just, you know, go along with it. It says, the people who think owning the libs at all costs is best for America. And there's this image I liked, and it was great. It said, ring bell to piss off liberals. Pavlov's MAGA. So they have to jump off this cliff to ring the bell, right? It's hilarious. Or someone made a GIF of it, right? No, that's not the GIF. Someone made a, here it is, right? Ring bell to own the libs. And you see they pay the money, so Trump's getting the money, and they go and ring the bell. Ding, right? And they jump into this pit of lava, right? But they, oh man, they got to own the libs, right? And that's the thing, you know, and really it's a perfect setup because they've gotten the conservative against the liberal and the liberal against the conservative, right? And what the hell is this music? Bear with me. But they really done a fantastic job. You know, even I was surprised, right? I thought, I really went off with the thinking, but I thought, who better to destroy America than, a so-called woman being a prey. And the other reason why I said that, and in my lessons, I said I thought it would more likely be Kamala is because Russia said, if they said, well, I guess they wouldn't have had enough time. Was really why it wouldn't have worked. But they said if a woman ever became president, they would launch immediately because they would know that America's at its weakest point, right? And I said, oh, that's got to mean she's got to win, right? And then this place is going to be complete. It's, a woman can't rule, right? But then again, we got Nero. So both of those options would have been bad, all right? Both options would be bad. So, but we got Nero, and I was really perplexed on, I was really like, how is he going to, mess everything up at an all-time rate? And it's really surprising. It's really surprising when you see it because he's doing things that you wouldn't even think that they would do because it's... I guess I really didn't understand the complacency and how really dumb, all right? Because I know George Carlin, think about how dumb the average American is and then realize that half of them are dumber than that. But, these Republicans, I figured, I know they're dumb and I know they don't care. But I figured, if they're campaigning on, oh, he's going to lower the food prices and then the food prices, don't go down, then they would be outraged and say, what the fuck, man? We voted for you. But no, they didn't. They just went along with it. All right. And, all these people, all these Republicans, these old, retirement age people that, rely on health care, all right, on the government or food stamp like SNAP. I figured they would outrage, but they didn't. All right, they're guess we got to do it because Daddy Trump said so. They're the ultimate complacent. All right, they're ultimate in complacency, right? And I guess I couldn't really picture or fathom anybody that would be that dumb, right? So, people are talking about fascism. You say they want this way of police brutality and fascism. And this is where I said, I went to ChatGPT and I said, a simple question. I said, all bias aside, in your opinion, based on current events and careful analysis of past events, do you think that the United States is turning into or is a fascist state? All right. And it says, short answer, not really fascist today. Bear with me. Slacky, lips were dry as hell. But it's clearly at risk. It says the U.S. is showing measurable democratic erosion, okay, which is erosion of democracy. It says, and some worrying authoritarian tendencies. How worried you should be comes down to whether you think the current trends are reversible. Now, it says, what I say, quick sourced rundown. It says multiple major democracy trackers record backsliding. VDEM's 2025 report documents a long global trend of autocratization, or autocracy, and flags democratic deterioration across many established democracies. That, the U.S. is a part of that conversation. I'll highlight it as we go so you can see what we're reading. It says, Freedom House's 2024 county report documents declines in political rights and civil liberties in the U.S. in recent years. Flawed elections, political violence, pressure on institutions. It says the Economist Intelligence Unit Democracy Index, good lord, that's a mouthful, still ranks at the U.S. well above authoritarian regimes, but classifies it far from a full democracy. The 2024 report gives the U.S. a middling score and warns of democratic deterioration. That's not fascism, but it's not deteriorating. It's not reassuring either. So it's a deteriorating democracy. All right, and it's not really fascist yet. They're saying we're in a fascist state. Not yet. All right, we're in a fascist flavored state. All right, fascism is making its way out. Right, and that's why they say stop it before it gets there. Well, yeah, but you're not going to be able to stop it. But it's on its way, but it's not quite there yet. Right? It's like if I said I was going to, shit in your yard. All right, your yard hasn't been shit in yet, but I'm on my way to come and do it. Right? So it says civil society monitors have formally flagged rapid declines in civic freedoms. For example, Civicus put the U.S. on a watch list for failing civic space, citing things like restrictions on protest, media access, and politicized personal moves. So right here, you actually see chat. What's the word? Contradict himself. Because remember this part, as it says, restrictions on protest. It says we're seeing restrictions on protest. Down later, it's going to say, oh, one of the things you got to watch for is restrictions on protest. What? That's what's happening. All right, it names a whole bunch of things. It gets better. This isn't the good part. It gets better as I ask you a follow-up question, right? Let's grab a drink here. So on to the next one, it says there are also concrete policy moves and administrative actions cut to democracy promotion, media and personnel reshuffles in key agencies that critics say weaken democratic norms and U.S. capacity to defend democracy abroad. These moves matter because institutional erosion often happens gradually through things like staffing, funding, and rule changes. Try to get to this as fast as we can so we can get some scriptures. It says, so why not call it fascist right now? It says fascism is a specific historical and ideological package. Mass single-party rule, a charismatic dictator, we already have that, fueled by violent party militia, we already have that, wholesale elimination of political pluralism, that's trying to happen. State control much of the civic, society, and economy, already having that. Explicit racial or ethnic purges, get into that. Elimination of independent institutions, happening. The U.S. does not currently meet most of those core historical markers. Elections still happen. Courts still sometimes block executive overreach. Many states retain independent institutions and a free press. Well, you have the illusion of free press, really. We have the illusion of free will. Well, there's also an illusion of free press in the United States of America. It's actually within the learned protocols, the protocols of learned elders of Zion. You can look that up. They consider it an anti-Shem book. But if you read it, it really goes into really all that they've actually done. It's no, that's just fake. That's not going to happen. Yeah, sure. And Project 2025 was fake and wasn't going to happen as well, as you see all those things rolling out. It was written a long time ago before any of those, behaviors were really put into effect. Okay. They all came into effect because the Small Hatters wanted them to come into effect as they outlined in that book. And all the learned protocols of the Elders of Zion is a book that somehow worked its way out when it shouldn't have. Right? It says, but continuing on, it says, those are meaningful breaks on an immediate slide into full-blown fascism. Scholars also warn against overusing the term fascism because it can obscure useful, precise analysis of democratic backsliding. It says, what matters most and what to watch for? Elections and acceptance of results. If large parts of political elite or public start accepting electoral outcomes, that's acute danger. They're already doing that with the fake votes. It says subversion of independent institutions, purges, politicized appointments, budget cuts, legal changes on hollow-out courts, civil service or other press, legal and extra legal violence against opponents, right? You see all this, right? And then I asked, so say Nazi Germany's rule was happening in the USA today with all figures rebranded as Americans and the people of opposition was so-called Black, Latino, and Native American people. How would that play out? What differences would we see? And this is where we really get into it, all right? Because this outlines America as it is today. And it says, all right, and let's first of all, let's grab a scripture because I feel uncomfortable I don't. Let's get this. This is why you can't be ignorant. All right, you got to look into all these things, right? Ecclesiasticus 5:15, it says, be not ignorant of anything in a great matter or a small. Let's go and get that in the Good News Translation and see what it tells us. All right. And it says, no, that's not great. Do nothing destructive, whether it seems insignificant or not. That's not what it's talking about. Let's get the NLT or the NLV. It says, oh, that's right, because it's in Can't, because it's in the it's in the Apocrypha. Slakia. So, continuing on, here we go. I wanted to get that scripture out, right? So you can't be ignorant, all right? You gotta, asking questions is a good thing, right? It says, that's a really heavy but interesting hypothetical, and one that a lot of historians and political scientists actually think about when they study what fascism looks like in modern form. Right? Because a lot of people are thinking about it in the 30s and, in the 20s, 30s, and 40s. They're thinking about it in a... they're looking at old versions of fascism. All right, old versions of democracy or capitalism look different too. All right, so of course a modern version of fascism is going to look different. And really, we're not fully there, but we're like 90% there to a fascist state. It hasn't been declared yet, so really can't say it is fascist. But I mean, it's fascist flavored. It's 90% there. I mean, could you get away with saying yes, we're in a fascist state? Yeah, but I mean, we're not really fully there yet. All right, so it's kind of like, you can't do it until it's really 100%. All right, and you wouldn't want it to be 100%, right? But you can't name it that until it is 100%, right? Unfortunately, that's just how it works. So it says, if Nazi Germany's system was transplanted in the U.S. today, and everyone rebanded as Americans, and the target groups being Black, Latino, and Native Americans, it wouldn't look identical to 1930s Germany, but the essence, state-sponsored authoritarianism and racial hierarchy would come through hard. Here's roughly how it could play out and how it would differ. And you're going to see a lot of things that are happening right now. It says the buildup, at first, it wouldn't announce itself as fascism. It'd come through law and order campaigns, huge patriotic rallies, MAGA rallies, Make America Great Again, right? And intense propaganda about real Americans. We want to be real American, America first, right? All these things that we're seeing right now with Trump. State media or captured private outlets would pump nationalistic, fear-based stories about crime, border threats, and cultural decay. All right, crime is running up, right? There's border threats, all right? They're coming over here and they're raping women, they're eating the dogs, they're eating the cats, right? Border threats, right? They're bringing crime in, cultural decay. The essence of America is decaying, right? That's what these people are saying right now. It says dissenting journalists and academics would get targeted online, then legally. Haven't got there fully yet. It says courts and agencies would slowly be stacked with loyalists who justify temporary restrictions on protests or press under the banner of national security. We're seeing those things. They're getting to the point, they're trying to really get rid of protests, national, it's a security threat, right, to have it happen, right? Now you got to go and have you got to make sure you're doing it legally and right. Right? And that's really a form of stopping protests, having to get all the paperwork and stuff like that. That's really a form, that's really against rights. All right? You should be able to protest without having to, go and get it notarized or some dumb fucking shit, right? That's not something you should have to do. If you're pissed off, you should just be allowed to be pissed off, right? So, and I understand putting rules on it, like obviously don't protest in the middle of the street because, you're going to block the flow of traffic. All right, but sidewalks should be free game. Right? If you're going to do that. All right. And I don't condone protesting, but I'm saying if you were going to do it, right? If someone was going to protest that, yeah, of course, there has to be certain limitations, but you shouldn't be stopped from protesting. You should just be like, of course, don't protest in the Walmart. All right. Outside or whatever. That's fine. All right. But it's got to be on public property. All right. Can't be on private property. And it's got to not obstruct, roadways. Okay. That would be, I think that's more than reasonable. But other than that, that's fine. Okay. It says instead of anti-Shem, all right, the regime's central ideology would focus on race-coded nationalism, painting whiteness or traditional American culture as the soul of the nation. Are they not painting traditional American culture, aka whiteness, rebranded, all right, as the soul of the nation? And that's why we're trying to make America great again. The system would blame minority groups for social ills, crime, job loss, moral decay. All right, moral decay with rap. Oh, look how these people, because this rap, it's destroying the mind. Job loss. Oh, they're coming over here and they're taking our jobs. Crime. They're the ones that do all the crimes. What was it? 1388 or 1390, whatever that racist statistic is, right? 13% of the population, 90% of all violent crime. Right? All these different things, right? It says you'd see policies justified as preserving national character, citizenship rollbacks, saying it, forced relocations, saying it, militarized policing of minority neighborhoods. They're doing that with the National Guard over in Chicago and other places. Already happening. Cultural erasure would happen. Erasure would happen too. Banning or rewriting history curriculums about slavery, Native genocide, or and Latino labor history. It's already happening. They don't teach about slavery or Latino labor, or when they got overruled by the conquistadors, or the Native genocide. They don't really teach about it. Then you might learn a little in school, but they don't teach you really all about it. That's stuff you have to learn on your own. Right? They wouldn't want to have something that divisive in school, because guess what? All the black kids would go out and beat the fucking white kids up at recess. That's what would happen. All right, they can't have that. They gotta lie about it. It says the machinery of repression. Not representation, but the machinery of repression. Modern technology changes everything. Surveillance. The state could weaponize AI. Did we not just see that? The other day I made a lesson about that, right? Facial recognition and data from social media to track dissent. Private-public fusion. Tech and defense contractors might assist in digital profiling, effectively outsourcing repression. Militarized police. Armored vehicles and SWAT-level policing comes a standard for domestic stabilization. Right here. Militarization of the police. Look, large group of Los Angeles Police Department in tactical gear. There you go. They've already militarized the police. Right? Really, they should show the Humvee right here. Survivor R. Right? Right here it says developed jointly as a result of a strategic cooperation between Germany's military vehicles and another one. It's a military vehicle. Right? Right? Militarization of the police. Right? That's like a fucking, almost like an MRAP. Right? Pretty much is an MRAP, really. But yeah. So they've already done that. What else? Concentration camps wouldn't be necessarily labeled that. They'd be detention centers or re-education programs or containment facilities. The optics would be cleaner, the bureaucracy smoother, and it would be all wrapped in legality, aka alligator Alcatraz, right, and other ICE detention programs, all right, as they call it, detention centers. They already have them, all right. Oh, we have one in Vegas. U.S. ICE enforcement and removal operations. Was unaware. Huh. I bet the Google reviews are great. People who work here are gross. This place is terrible. It's funny. What else do we got? You can see it. You can see right here, 7 years ago, before all this even was really happening. It says, people who work here are gross. They completely abuse their power. They do not care about human life, child or adult. 4 years ago, horrible nightmare place where dreams come to die. Should not exist. Place is terrible. Should not exist. Disgusting. You know. So, there you go. But yeah. But let's continue. It says the difference from 1930s Germany. Less open uniform culture. Instead of brown shirts, you'd have paramilitary, patriot militias, or deputized citizen groups with tactic state approval. If I just look at patriot militia, 3%ers. Right? Far-right anti-government movement in the United States. How are you going to be far-right and anti-government? That don't really make sense at the end of the day, do it? You see it. You got shit like that. You got the Proud Boys. All right. You can see the Proud Boys. All right. So you got all these groups. Proud Boys. Far right neo-fascist militant organization. Right. So you see it. Already have that. Digital propaganda, TikTok, X, and other news algorithms would be flooded with nationalist content, influencers, psyops, and AI-generated myths. Already have an AI-generated myths. You're also seeing white nationalist content already on TikTok, right? X, all right? We're already seeing that, all right? People like Charlie Kirk, right? It says, you know, in the program that he worked for, what was the name of that? Turning Point USA, right? And you're seeing other ones, all right? There's all over, not only those places, but Instagram Reels has a lot of white nationalist content on it too. It says corporate complicity. Many companies wouldn't resist. They'd pivot to profit from government contracts or data sharing programs. We have that as well. Let's see. Right. GameStop posted a picture of Donald Trump shaking hands with Master Chief, right? So here it was, a real thing that was posted. All right, there you go. So they're siding, all right, because money, and of course all of these, you know, big companies are gonna side with Donald Trump because they're oligarchs. They're worried about making money, and they're, you know, billionaire companies that want to make more money. Who are you gonna side with? The people that are trying to, you know, take away rights from billionaires, or the billionaire? You're gonna side with the billionaire that's gonna give tax breaks. Duh. It says global reaction. It said sanctions, protests, and mass boycotts would come, but the U.S.'s economic power and nukes would deter foreign intervention. You know, you can see it. It says some resistance and fracture. Some state governments, especially diverse or liberal-leaning ones, would resist federally setting up safe zones or sanctuary networks. We see that as well, right? There's going to be some people that resist. Underground digital resistance would emerge. Journalists leaking data, encrypted organizing, diaspora support. The U.S. military would fracture along ideological lines, some refusing unconstitutional orders, others following them under the banner of loyalty. So there you go. And I said, basically named what I talked about right now. I said that sounds a lot like what's happening currently, blaming immigrants for and black folk for crime, for blocking protests, job loss under DEI, right? They're saying, you know, job loss, oh, the immigrants are taking our jobs, or they're saying they took our jobs because of DEI, right? Remember that? They rolled out the National Guard in minority communities, MAGA militias like the Proud Boys, state-sanctioned ICE, because they're basically like the modern SS, right? Really, they're Trump's little militia. It says detention centers like Alligator, Alcatraz, GameStop making and posting pro-Trump memes, rampant amount of white nationalist influencers, and people using AI to make minorities look bad. And you can see it says, you're right to notice that those examples are rhythmic. Those examples rhythmically line up with the things that are happening in early stages of democratic decline, scapegoating, creeping normalization of violence, propaganda cycles, and a merger between politics, media, and identity. They don't add up to a literal Nazi-style state, but they do rhyme with the preconditions and let that sort of system take root. Well, you just said that this is how it would work if it was under Nazi Germany's rule, basically as modern America. So you're trying to, you know, backtrack now, okay? You're trying to backtrack it now. So, you know, it's really, you know, really not a repeat, because this time it's actually going to happen, all right, with you know, a fascist state. It's not going to be like the amount of bullshit and fallacies that have gone out about Nazi Germany, which they were, you know, they did do some things, but there's a lot of things that they didn't do that was just propaganda perpetrated by the 48ers, all right? Like, the 48ers will never tell you that there was a whole situation where the Germans helped them get over to the land of Israel. They'll never let you know that, all right? Mind you, Nazi Germany. Nazi Germans, right? Not just regular Germans, but under Nazi Germany. All right, they call it the transfer agreement. Look it up. So they don't like to talk about it at all. All right, you can go look up the transfer agreement. Okay, you can go and look it up. The dramatic story between the pact between the Third Reich and the Jewish Palestine. Okay, so they don't like it though, and it's not propaganda. It's nothing. It's true. All right. This book documents the agreement between Nazi Germany and the Organization of German Zionists in 1933 to salvage some German Jewish assets and the voluntary immigration of German Jews to Palestine before the Third Reich implemented the repulsion and the extermination. Sure. So they helped them get out before they, did the thing. Sure. Oh, sure, bud. Right? So let's get Isaiah 14:1 through 14. Read this. All right, because this is really how Esau, they want to have a totalitarian fascist control and have all the power, right? Trump, man, he wishes he was Hitler, right? He wishes he could have power, right? Because there's a lot of fluff and a lot of bullshit that's going on with Nazi Germany, but Hitler was a decent leader at the time. I mean, he had opposition, of course, but they had a strong patriotism at the time. Some people hated it, some people liked it, right? So same with now. Some people hate it, some people like it, right? So Isaiah 14:1 says, this first part's talking about, how they're going to be stripped out of power, all right? But, it's going to talk about why. What did they do? So Isaiah 14:1, it says, "For the Lord will have mercy on Jacob," that's us, so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, "and will yet choose Israel and set them in their own land." We're going to be returning back to the land of Israel, okay? "And the strangers shall be joined with them." The strangers, if you get that word in the Hebrew, is really talking about foreigners, people that are not of Israel descent, okay? So heathens shall be joined with them, and they shall cleave to the house of Jacob. "And the people shall take them and bring them to their place, and the house of Israel shall possess them in the land of the Lord for servants and handmaids." So those people are going to be possessed as servants and handmaids, as slaves, right? Servants, right? They don't like to talk about that, but it's in the Bible right here. It says, "And they shall take them captives whose captives they were." When you think of somebody that was taken captive, all right, and subjected into slavery, who do you think of? Ireland. No, wrong. All right, yeah, sure, but don't try to lie. All right, everybody knows they think of the transatlantic slave trade. Okay, it says, "And they shall rule over their oppressors." So we're gonna literally rule over our oppressors under Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushai. He's gonna give us that power. All right, after America and Israel are completely wiped out. All right. It says, "And it shall come to pass in the day that the Lord shall give thee rest from thy sorrow and from thy fear and from the hard bondage wherein thou wast made to serve." We're still serving it, all right? Hard bondage, because they're oppressive. It says that thou shalt take up this proverb against the king of Babylon, all right, and say, "How hath the oppressor ceased? The golden city ceased. The Lord hath broken the staff of the wicked and the scepter of the rulers." He's going to, forcibly take these people out of power, even though they wanted to be in it so bad. It said, "He who smote the people in wrath with a continual stroke, and he that ruled the nations in anger is persecuted, and none hindereth. The whole earth is quiet. The whole earth is at rest and is quiet. They break forth into singing." Like I said, it's going to be like a Disney movie when everyone's like, "I'm so happy it's gone." You're going to be like dancing around, right? And have birds sitting on your shoulders and stuff. The rabbits are going to be dancing with you, right? And of course, I'm making a humorous situation out of it, but it's something that's, it's literally people are going to be jumping for joy and singing. All right, and it's really not even all that humorous. It might just be like the Disneyland. The animals going to be happier, all right, because they're not having Esau dumping fucking poisons and chopping their rainforest down, all right? So they'll probably be frolicking and happy as well, all right? Probably will be like a real life Disney thing. And I'm not making fun of the prophecy. I'm just, making fun of how bad Esau has made this, that it's going to seem, like a fantasy comparatively, right? It's like you can't even imagine how calm, all right, you're going to feel, right? It says, "Yea, the fir trees rejoice at thee, and the cedars of Lebanon, saying, Since thou art laid down, no feller is come up against us." All right, there you go. It's right there. Even, since thou art laid down, not anybody, ruining the forest and chopping everything down, right? The earth's going to be at rest. Right? Not only the people, the earth is going to be at rest. Not chopping up a whole bunch of trees. I'm sure, we'll have ways that we do it naturally to get lumber. All right? But the way Esau does it, you got to think that like the Native Americans chopped down trees too, but they weren't deforesting places. Esau goes in there with big giant. They're chopping down, 735,000 trees. All right, and deforestation and shit, and the birds are dying, and all this. Yeah, it's just crazy. All right, well, we chopping down, trees, I'm sure, but it's not gonna deforest. Chop some here, all right, and then move to another area. Chop some here, and we'll probably replant trees after we chop them too. Is another thing, right? Esau doesn't do that, which means in the future, if there was a future for this place, which there's not, they wouldn't even have any lumber. All right, they'd all be gone, and in return, you'd die because there wouldn't be any oxygen on Earth because you chopped all the fucking trees down. In verse 9, it says, "Hell from beneath is moved for thee to meet thee at thy coming. It stirreth up the dead for thee, even all the chief ones of the earth. It hath raised up from their thrones all the kings of the nations. All they shall speak and say unto thee, Art thou also become weak as we? Art thou become like unto us? Thy pomp is brought down to the grave, and the noise of thy vials. The worm is spread under thee, and the worms cover thee." Now here's the point, the second point, all right, that we're gonna make, and really the point that we got this chapter for. All right, even though it's all great and it's fantastic altogether. 12, it says, "How art thou fallen from heaven, O Lucifer, son of the morning? How art thou cut down to the ground, which did weaken the nations? For thou hast said in thine heart, I will ascend into heaven. I will exalt my throne above the stars of Yahweh. I will sit also upon the mount of the congregation in the sides of the north. I will ascend above the heights of the clouds. I will be like the Most High." Right? So that's what they're really going with this. They're trying to be like the Most High. They're trying to, have all the power in the world to do whatever they want. And they're not the Lord, so they're not going to pull it off. And it shows you what's going to happen with them in verse 15. Simple, it's easy as pie. All right? "Yet thou shalt be brought down to hell, to the sides of the pit. They that see thee shall narrowly look upon thee, and consider thee, saying, Is this the man that made the earth to tremble, that did shake kingdoms, that made the world as a wilderness, and destroyed the cities thereof, that opened not the house of his prisoners?" They're going to say, this is the guy, this pathetic worm, right? This tiny little fucking woodwoos. This is him? This is the guy that did it? All right. Okay, I don't know how he did it. Wow, Lord, that really shows your power. You made this guy into a powerful warlord. This guy's pathetic. I was powerful once. I'm sure you were. Isaiah 10:1 through 2. It says, and this is here it is. Woe, you know what woe is? Woe is what is woe? What is woe? What is woe?
Woe.
Great sorrow or distress, misery. All right, and also it should say destruction. Well, it says desolation, and that's fine. All right, so a state of complete emptiness or destruction. All right, so Isaiah 10:1, it says, "Woe." That's what you're gonna get. Woe unto them that decree unrighteous decrees, and that write grievousness which they have prescribed, to turn aside the needy from judgment, and to take away the right from the poor of my people, that widows may be their prey, and that they may rob the fatherless. That's what they do. They rob the fatherless. They take away the rights of the poor people. All right, they make these unrighteous decrees. They take all these. Everything they do is bad. Right? They're like a fucking cartoon villain. Right? I'm going to put chemicals in our water supply. Ha ha ha. That's them. They're like a cartoon villain. Right? And the people that follow them are like cartoon villains too. The new thing is that if you're poor, you can't buy mustard. Right? That's the new thing now. Can't buy mustard. They don't want you to do it. Well, they don't have the right to buy mustard. Right? And of course I'm being divisive with it because they say, oh, you shouldn't be able to buy Grey Poupon. I don't know if you know this or not. The commercials in the 80s were a joke, buddy. The Grey Poupon is not a luxury item. Okay? It's just a standard fucking Dijon mustard. That's it. That's all it is. Okay? As a matter of fact, I can get it right here for $2.89. You shouldn't be able to use food. They're using food stamps to buy Grey Poupon. What? And I have to use a what? A non-name brand? Okay, let's go see. So, Great Value mustard, 98 cents. There is no way in fucking hell that mustard is 98 cents. I guarantee you it's not. Okay, I guarantee you it's not. Matter of fact, I don't have the app on my phone, but I guarantee you that it's not 98 cents. All right, that's fucking lie right there. Great value mustard for 98 cents. Never heard of it. Never heard of it. All right, you can see everywhere else. That's not the case. Let's go and see. I really gotta go and check. Really? 98 cents for some mustard. Huh. Alright. Well, I bet it's full of poison. Vinegar, water, mustard seed, salt, turmeric, and paprika. Really? The more you know. The more you know. Huh. I don't know. Somehow I still don't trust it. There's no way. There's no way. There's gotta be something in it. No way, 98 cents. Everywhere else doesn't sell no mustard for 98 cents. Okay, it's usually at least $1 something, right? You can see the Great Value Dijon is $1.52. All right, well that's not name brand. Is it just Dijon? You can't get Dijon mustard. You have to get the regular mustard. What if it calls for Dijon? What if the recipe you're making calls for Dijon? You can't have regular mustard. All right, and it's only 54 cents more. Okay. Shouldn't be able to do it, right? You see right here, yellow mustard, Great Value squeeze bottle. No, that's eBay. I'm gonna say, yellow mustard right here, organic. That's $2, right? The only one that really seems to be under the dollar mark is this 98 cent one. And personally, I've never seen it in public. I'm just being for real. I've never seen it. That surprised the shit out of me. 98 cent mustard, never seen it ever. Never, 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 right? So, inside joke, but most of you know about it as well. But so yeah, man, it says I bought this to try it and it's the worst mustard I've ate in my life. It's not even the cheap local brands are bad as this. That's the Great Value yellow mustard. That's the one you have to eat, you fucking poor. Eat it, you poor. You don't deserve to have good food. It should all be disgusting and barely palatable, right? And that's where they're at with it. They don't know what. So they can just have, they can just eat. You can buy it. Look, Grey Poupon mustard is only a $2.89. Okay, it's $2.89. But all because of 1981. Pardon me, Tony Grey Poupon. It must be a luxury item. You can buy it in Walmart. I assure you, it's not a fucking luxury item. All right. Reddit. Snap. Right here. Right here, you see it says, "This is infuriating. Snap recipients get Grey Poupon, and I have to settle for generic mustard, all because that's all I can afford." It says you could afford 2 of those fancy mustards a month if you stopped wasting money on a blue check. Hope this helps. You have to pay for those blue check marks. They say, piss off. Right? Fucking dumb. Dumb. It says, gee, I didn't realize Snap passed out fancy mustard and not just funds to buy food with. Look, anyway, it looks like somebody wouldn't like it if people combined their purchases and made comments about what they should spend their money on. It's just, honestly, who the fuck is wasting money on a blue check? It's true. It says, I love how they think that Grey Poupon is fancy when it isn't expensive. It just shows you how powerful the marketing with the old limo advert is. It's true. It says, why did I have to scroll so far? It's $4, dude. If you want it, just buy it. There's no I can't afford it and buy the cheap stuff. When we're talking about $4. It's true. What else? Let's see. Republicans just want to control every aspect of others' lives, but expect all the freedoms in the world. Let's see, but yeah, and there's another guy talking about it. Let me see. Here it is. There's another one that I saw originally. It says the Grey Poupon marketing was so effective that 30 years later, it's still considered a luxury brand at $4 a bottle. All right. It says, MAGAs actually believe that billionaires eat hot dogs with it in a Rolls Royce. You know. So, Fox News was attacking Barack Obama for using Dijon mustard. These people are fucking dumb. All right. So, I mean, come on. Snap? It's $3.88, dude. It says, wait until they figure out that you can make avocado toast with Snap-eligible groceries. $4 mustard in a plastic bottle. The very picture of opulence. Exclusively for people who wipe with $1,000 bills. It says, just because it's eligible doesn't mean people are buying it. It just means it's unprepared cold food. You can't even buy hot food. You can't even buy hot food, E. Right? You can't even buy hot food with food stamps. And you're saying, look, they can do all they want. We're living in fucking idiocity, all right? Or I think, is that what it was? Idiocity? Idiocity? Is that the name of the movie? Idiocracy. All right, Idiocracy. That's what it was, not Idiocity, but Idiocracy. You know, when he becomes the smartest guy on earth and he's just a regular fucking guy. I gotta watch that. I've never really watched it. You know, I've seen clips from it, but I've never actually sat down and watched it. I bet if I look at the reviews, it's just people talking about how the movie is just, you know, it's basically just today, right? So, yeah, I need to get to watching that. But, you know, so, Revelation 12 and 12, and it's only going to get worse for these people, right? It says, therefore rejoice ye heavens, and ye that dwell in them. Woe to the inhabitants of the earth and of the sea. For the devil is come down unto you, having great wrath, because he knoweth that he hath but a short time. He knows his time is running out. So he's got to plot, and he's got to plot fast. He's got to move those little fingers, you know, and that little hand motion, rub his hands together really quick and do his wickedness while he can, because he knows he doesn't have that much time left, man. All the prophecies are nearly almost fulfilled. So Psalms 37 and 12 down through 13, it says, the wicked plotteth against the just, and gnasheth upon him with his teeth. The Lord shall laugh at him, for he seeth that his day is coming. Your day is coming, Esau. Your day is coming, and the Lord sees it. And you know you're plotting against the just right now, you know. But and really, you know, against the Hebrew Israelites, you're already trying to take down all these Bible apps and stuff like that. And you've already, you know, and not only that, you've shitified them. All right. Like I said, I used to love using Logos Bible. All right, and they've just ruined it. They have just ruined it. It's horrible. It's atrocious now. Really, it's bad. Right? You can't search for anything, and if you do want to get a good search, you got to pay for it. It's awful. Not only have they shitified it, they've monetized it, which is wicked. It's just wicked. So, how long have we been going for? 52 minutes? Perfect. So, Obadiah 1 and 3 through 4, and then we're going to close out. It says, the pride of thine heart hath deceived thee, thou that dwellest in the clefts of the rock. And a matter of fact, if you go up from verse 1, you can see that we'll just get from 1. All right, we'll read from 1. Obadiah chapter 1. It says, the vision of Obadiah, thus saith the Lord Yahweh concerning Edom. We have heard a rumor from the Lord, and an ambassador is sent among the heathen. Arise ye, and let us rise against her in battle. And if you're not familiar with Esau, Edom being the so-called white man, there's plenty of lessons out there for, you know, that you can go and watch. All right, you can just type in GMS Esau or GMS Edomites. Hell, as a matter of fact, the brother, he's a brother as well, but he's the apostle. The Apostle Gabar just put out a lesson I was watching today that also kind of really inspired it through the way, because it was talking about Edomites. Right here. Go and watch this lesson, all right? It says, the Edomites are still here, 6 examples of concrete proof. Go and watch it, all right? Go and watch this lesson, okay? If you want proof, go and look. Go and look. Go and watch it. Don't say, well, I don't fucking believe it. Go and watch the lesson and shut up, right? If you're gonna scoff, go and get the proof, all right? Because you don't want the proof, because you just want to say, oh, I don't believe it, and you want to be, you want to believe what you believe, all right? You don't want the proof, so you're not gonna go and watch the video. But those that actually care about the truth, they're gonna go and watch it. It says, verse 2. Of course, if you don't know who the Edomites are, all right? If you already know who the Edomites are, it's still a good lesson to watch, but you might not be, running over to watch it. But, if you don't know who the Edomites are and you're dying to know, you got to go and watch that, all right? That's the spirit and power of Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahweh Shai right there, right? That lesson was put out, right? In verse 2, it says, behold, I have made thee small among the heathen. So not only is Esau just a bastard, all right, and small, all right, they're the smallest among the heathen, okay? They are the weakest of the weak, the lowest of the low. And it says, thou art greatly despised. Everybody hates you. Even the other heathens don't like you, man. Some of them like you, but they really, at the end of the day, they don't like you, all right? They just like some of the benefits they can get from you. It says, the pride of thine heart hath deceived thee. Yesterday we talked about deception. You deceive so much that you've even deceived yourselves. All right. The pride of thine heart hath deceived thee, thou that dwellest in the cleft of the rock, whose habitation is high, that saith in his heart, who shall bring me down to the ground? Right. Though thou exalt thyself as the eagle, there's a hint, right? Because the Edomite nations always love to use the eagle. Greeks, the Romans, all right, the modern day Americans, right? They all use that eagle as their symbol. It says, and though thou set thy nest among the stars, they like dwelling in those, those high habitations, all right, whose habitation is high. They like to, dwell in those big buildings. It says, thence will I set, if you ever look at the mansions, they always overlook a cliff point or something, right? It says, thence will I bring thee down, saith the Lord. So the Lord is going to bring them down. Let's read it again. Verse 4, though thou exalt thyself as the eagle, and though thou set thy nest among the stars, thence will I bring thee down, saith the Lord. All right. And again, like, Psalms 37 and 13, the Lord sees your day coming. All right. And it's not going to be a good one. It's going to be bad. It's going to be bad. And there's nothing you can do about it, man. So, it really is America heading towards a fascist state. Pretty much. Right. Is America a fascist state, or is it heading there? Is America a fascist state? Okay, I had to make sure I'm spelling it right. Is America a fascist state? Chat thinks so. Right. So, yes and no. Yes and no. All right. Maybe just yes, no. All right. Nah, I won't give it away. But it's a yes and a no. All right. It can't be solidified. Does it have fascist roots? Yes. Is it fully fascist? Not just yet. In Jacob's trouble, it will be. Right. That's when we'll fully run out with the fascists. That's when you'll have martial law. All right. That's when it'll really hit fascist. But it's heading there. All right. It's sliding down that point. So that's a lesson. We're gonna close out there. Lord willing, it was edifying. Once again, I want to give all praise, honor, and glory to the Most High, Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushai, Ba'ashem Rakak. I want to say shalom to you brothers and sisters out there. Keep enduring, keep the faith. We're almost out of here. Until next one, Lord willing, shalom.